Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Truthfully Stew podcast. I'm your host, Sheena Stewart. And if you're not new to this, but true to this, you know me from my blog, Love at Any Stage. I decided to transition from blogging to podcasting due to my desire to have a more genuine connection with my audience. And your girl loves to talk. We will have heartfelt, unfiltered conversations about love, life, feelings, and everything in between. So, relax because it's time to get truthful. This is the final episode of season 2. So, for this episode, I wanted to do something a little different. I've heard that Jay-Z does not write down any of his lyrics. And I wonder how the heck he does that, because I literally write down everything I say on these podcasts, except for when I'm having conversations with Anthony, because they're just conversations. So for this last episode of season 2, I wanted to be like Sean Carter himself and see if I could freestyle this thing. Let's see how it goes, because it might give me a little bit more freedom about what I discuss with you on season 3. So I want to do a deep dive on season 2. Just give you a little bit more insight into what I was thinking and any updates from those previous episodes. So I guess we'll start with the truth about season 2. It's all about connections. That was a trailer. And that trailer, I just wanted to talk about, hey, this season will be about connection. Nothing really major, just letting you know what's to come. Really wasn't a big deal. Took me like 5 minutes to write, so it wasn't a lot of labor in that one. So I was all right. But then we headed into episode number 2. The truth about friendship. Forget kissing frogs. I'm buzzing with bees. So that episode was difficult for the simple fact that I had to admit once again that I still do not have a core friend group. And I say once again because if you follow me on my blog, I had a blog about it. I can't remember the title of it, but I discussed that in a blog. And it was very, very hard to do then. And how many ever years later, it's also still hard to do because it's like, why can't I make that happen? And I've talked about it, as I said, with my previous therapist, with my current therapist. And there have even been moments where I'm like, you know what? Just forget it. I don't need this. And I think the older that I get, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I do need this because I have no clue what life has in store for me. And I know that you truly need to depend on people. And I saw that with Anthony's surgery. But that's episode 3, so we'll get there. So for this episode, it was just really hard to discuss that I still don't have that. And it was a really big milestone for me to say that, hey, I signed up for a Bumble. I don't think I know that no one in my life knew about that until they listened to the podcast. So it's just one of those things I kept private because it was embarrassing. Like, you have to resort to these type of tactics to get people to talk to you. That's what I was thinking in my head. And I'm in a sorority, and I know, like, growing up in a small town, like, people thought, I think my mom said one time, like, paying for friends. I can't tell that story. So, but yeah, she mentioned like paying for friends, and I understand that she didn't get like the concept of a sorority, and things like that. So I really didn't think I was paying for friends. It was deeper than that for me. Like, I looked up, I'm a Delta, by the way. I looked up like the founding of it and felt like, yes, this is where I should be. This is what I want to do. So I didn't, again, look at it as like paying for friends. But with Bumble, I'm not paying. You can go a paid route. I'm not going a paid route. But it still feels like I'm going to extreme measures to get people to like come into my life. And the crazy thing is, like, you have to go through and read. And I mean, I think most people have been on dating apps. said in the original episode, I hadn't. I just started dating Anthony like the end of 2010, and it's just been us from then. So I never like experienced dating apps, except for that one time when my mom signed me up for one. But you'll have to find an old blog to read that story. So as I'm going through and I'm looking through, I'm like going left and right, swiping left and right on people's profiles. It's the weirdest thing. And I can't even bring myself to write a bio. Like did a podcast about it and I said it in the podcast, but I still can't write a bio. That makes me feel in my mind that like, this is real. You are really this low in life that you have to get friends this way. And so I guess part of it is like, I have like the notification, like your profile is still not 100% complete. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm really not there. I'm really not that bad off. I don't even have a bio, but it has been an experience. I have met some people though. So we'll see where that goes. As I stated, I will update you in season 3. Keep your fingers crossed for me. And hopefully by then I will update my bio. But it's a very weird experience. And I take off my hat to anyone that has been on a dating app, because this is just like finding like friends. Trying to find the love of my life on a dating app, that would be a bit much. Like, no judgment, but that would just be a bit much for me. This has really been a hit. I want to say a hit to the ego, but I can't say that because this is something I have struggled with for years. So I don't even think my ego is like, girl, stop playing. But I mean, come on. At this point, we're low. Okay, so just do what you got to do to find some folks. So that's what I'm doing. But I did want to give you a little bit of, I guess, backstory or behind the scenes on episode 2. Hopefully I will create that bio soon and I can have some updates like, hey, I have some new friends, y'all. All right, so episode 3, the truth about brain surgery. Mr. Wizard, if I only had a brain. So I told some people about that episode title before we even recorded the episode, and they're like, you think Aunt is gonna care? I'm like, Aunt has been married to me for like 7 years. So, I mean, he knows me. He knows I constantly crack jokes on him. He's alive. He's well. But what I wanted to do with this episode is we talked about, of course, Anthony and finding out like the symptoms that he had and his diagnosis and the surgery and the aftercare, all of that. But what we didn't get to talk about, which was totally fine, was me. This is called Truthfully Stew, y'all. But what I wanted to really explore was how all of it impacted me. And I think I mentioned it a little bit, but I didn't want to just overpower the conversation and like, hey, we're talking about somebody who had brain surgery and like you're rattling off about, again, your feelings and emotions and things like that. But it was very tough. My mom was here for 2 weeks, which is great. But I think it's still something about your normal routine. Me and Anthony have this routine like down to a science. And as the girls get older or they go to a different stage or we adjust, and it's still like a well-oiled machine. Like we know, even when we take them out, we joke sometimes, like if we take them to one of the big parks, we like going to parks. We love going to museums. So places like that where it's just a lot of open space and toddlers are like, oh my God, this is amazing. They just run around. So I could start off with Harper and then she's maneuvering through, she's running around. And then we might pass Anthony and Deal. And it's like just this beautiful dance where we don't even say anything. I just know that like how we're all moving, that I need to follow Deal and that Anthony will have Harper. So it's just like this great thing that we have created. And it was tough not having him there like fully during those 3 weeks when he was down. But it also messed me up because I was not getting a lot of sleep. And poor Anthony, you know, everyone has their version of things. And in his mind, he wasn't sleeping at night. You know, maybe he just likes to snore for fun with his eyes closed and act like he's asleep, but he really not, because he was asleep. He was asleep, y'all. So he was sleeping and he had like all this stuff, like, we mentioned it, 6 feet of packing in his nose, which is insane. So you have that and you're trying to like breathe through your mouth. So you're going to be snoring, but you're lying beside me. We have a king size bed, but it's still, we're still in the same bed. We're still in the same room. It was tough to sleep and it was bad. I just didn't get any sleep. I don't require a lot of sleep anyway. I've been a night owl since I was little, but you need some sleep, especially if I'm worried about like my husband having brain surgery and recovering and all of these things. Again, I'm not trying to dismiss my mom being here. It was great, but I think when you're just accustomed to your normal everyday routine and it's off for 3 weeks, that's a lot. And I mentioned on the episodes, going to drop off and pick up from school, that ran me ragged. That was really old, but it was a lot. But the sleeping things, I will let him think that he slept, that he didn't sleep at night. He did, right? And therefore I didn't get any sleep. So I remember after my mom left and he still had like 1 more week where he couldn't do much, and I ran to the store to get something. I was pushing the cart and like my hand just started to shake. Hey y'all, I came across a tool that I felt will be helpful to anyone that prioritizes taking care of their mental health and becoming the best version of themselves. Because being a self-advocate for your mental health is proactive and beneficial. So when I saw that Courtney Arlesia, a licensed mental health professional, created a digital psychoeducational tool to help improve coping skills, self-reflection, and positive self-talk, I wanted to share with you. The weekly mental wellness planner is digital, making it easy to keep up with your positive affirmations and journal entries on the go. The weekly mental wellness digital planner is available to you with a limited time offer of 10% off at checkout. Simply use the code truthfullystew. The planner information is in the show notes. Now, let's get back to some candy quotes and anecdotes. I texted him, I'm like, yeah, when I get home, I'm going to need some rest because my body just wore down. He was like, girl, what are you doing? It just completely like fell apart. I was supposed to go to like a friend's yoga class. I had to like hit her up, like, not going to make it. I know yoga is great. It can be restorative depending on like what type of class it is, but your girl couldn't make it. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, just to listen to my body and say, hey, I need some rest. And Anthony was at the end. It's not like he was picking the girls up or he was driving them anywhere, but just that time for me to like jump in the bed, lock the door, and do me. But after he was able to start driving, I remember like the first day he was able to drive, he did take the girls to his parents' house and they stayed like the whole day, I think 4 or 5 hours. So I was just at home by myself doing nothing. Again, we just picked that routine back up. Like no time had passed, but my body was like, time has passed, girl, get it together. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about with that episode, but I didn't really feel comfortable talking about it when we were recording it because it's like, this dude had brain surgery and you're talking about trembling, picking up some peas in Publix. I don't eat peas, but it sounded good. So on to episode number 4, the truth about emotions. Sheena, anger, hurt, and compassion walk into a bar. So that one, I loved it because I love emotions, right? And it's not something that I always have been in tune with or in touch with or even felt like was possible to do. I had a blog one time talking about Black women and the lack of vulnerability, or let me rephrase that, the lack of space created for us to be vulnerable. And I think that that's one of the things that I like to pat myself on the back about, is because I don't have that core friend group, but I'm still like very open and honest and vulnerable person. And we usually find that in very safe spaces, like with our core friend groups. So I think maybe because I don't have that, then I just put it out there in the world. So you can thank me for that. I just love that through therapy, I think it was just a kind of a progression a transition. So I started therapy, and it's like, okay, I worked through some issues. I wasn't the angry person that I had been like earlier, like in my teens and 20s, and I figured out why, got through that. But it wasn't like, okay, get through this anger, then all of a sudden become the queen of vulnerability. It took a lot of time. And Truth Tuesday really, I feel like, propelled me to a different level. And hopefully this podcast does the same. It takes me to like an even higher level than Truth Tuesday got me to. So I love emotions. I don't see that changing. I talk to the girls and they will tell me, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm mad. We just go through all of their emotions. And if they are crying or they're very frustrated and they can't get it out, I will ask them. I will do my best job of assessing the scene and then asking them, hey, do you feel this? And they'll let me know, no, that's not it. So I'll go to the next one until they say yes. And then we talk about why that is. We do breathing exercises. And we plan to get them in some in-home yoga pretty soon. So that episode was really great to me because I love emotions. I love talking about them. I love feeling them. I love hopping in the car with them and riding, even when it's tough. I think when it's tough, it's probably better because that means some lesson needs to be learned and there's room for growth. Because if it was easy, that means like, hey, this is something I've already conquered. This is something that it's old for me. Like, oh, I know how to maneuver through that. But when it's tough and it causes you to like circle their block, when it causes you to like I said, like hurt is in the front seat, in the back seat, in the front seat again. It's like, what lesson am I supposed to be learning that I'm not getting? So yes, I do personify emotions and it really helps. So the next to last, I guess, episode of this season was The Truth About Teammates. Now, who's going to lead us to the promised land? So that was a spirited conversation between Anthony and I just on the dynamics of our marriage, just how really it's always been since we started dating. We are, as I previously mentioned, just the ultimate teammates. We really believe in like, hey, this is where you shine. You should shine in that situation, and the other person, takes the back seat and really just assist with whatever needs to be assist. Whether that's like, hey, if Anthony's speaking somewhere and I need to be right there, like fielding people, like, oh, let me make sure I'm getting all these contacts for you, for your next events. Or I'm like, hey, I need to take the pictures. Let me bend down. Like my knees are still a little good. Let me bend down and get that great angle. By the way, I never have any good pictures taken of me unless they are professionally because Anthony cannot take pictures. It's like a finger is in the way, like a throwback jersey is in the way, a Walkman is in the way. You get what I'm trying to say. It's just like how these things don't even exist anymore. I mean, they shouldn't. I don't know. But yeah, just really being like the ultimate teammate and realizing when something you need help. Like as I talked about just a few minutes ago with me struggling after Anthony had his surgery and him realizing like, yeah, I just had surgery, but I'm on the mend and the least I can do is give her 4 or 5 hours out of this day to just do whatever she wants to do. So I think just being in tune with your partner and seeing what's going on with them to be able to jump in and say, hey, I think we need to do this, or hey, I think you need to sit this one out. And the biggest thing for me that I like about us is that there's no task that is beneath either one of us. Like I joke all the time that I can't cook. I can't. But if it needs to be done, then I will do it. I don't do it often because people want to be, happy when they eat, and that's just not it. But again, there's no task that it's like we won't do. The other one's like, no, I refuse to do that because I'm a man, or I refuse to do that because I'm a woman, or I can't do that. That's just not how it happens here. So I am really, really open. I know I said it a million times on that podcast episode, but I'm just really intrigued. I've always been a why person ever since I was little. So I really want to talk to someone who has a different view of like marriage than we do. Again, I think it's just to show that there are different paths to take So I would really like to talk to someone, and I would really like to hear from you. What are you liking? We are finished with 2 seasons. I feel like you kind of understand me and what I'm trying to do with the podcast, but I do want to hear from you. Like this is very therapeutic for me, but it's all about you guys. Like I can't believe I just said you guys. Why did I say that? It's y'all. I'm Southern. So I want to hear from y'all, what y'all like, anything that you would like for me to add. I do have some ideas in mind, but before I go down that route, I would really like to hear from y'all. So I am closing out season 2. I can't believe I did another season. Again, I am not an organized person. I am the consummate dreamer with no execution. So the fact that I have completed 2 seasons of a podcast is mind-blowing to me. But until next season, my friend, and as always, stay truthful. Thank you for listening and sharing this space with me. If you connected with anything I said, please be sure to comment, review, and tell a friend. And remember, stay truthful.
Bye-bye. Meow. Bye-bye.